All right, we're going to be doing a nice short, quick unit on digestion, nutrition, and a little bit on exercise, mostly about the digestive system. And we're just going to dive right into that. So, this is a diagram that shows you the major organs and parts of the digestive system. So it starts with the mouth, where we have teeth and saliva that begin the process of digestion. That passes through the esophagus, where peristalses are the muscles that push the food down the esophagus. So we initially start by swallowing food, right? But then we don't necessarily have to think about pushing that food into our stomach, which our body actually does. So just so you know, if you were upside down, doing a handstand, and you drink water and you swallow it, your body will push that water into your stomach, even if you're upside down, which is pretty incredible. Then the food enters your stomach, where you really start to chemically digest the food into a sludge. And then once it is like a soupy sludge, it is going to enter into your small intestine. It's called your small intestine because it's not as wide as your large intestine, but it can be very, very long. So it's all these squigglies here, not this outer part, but it's all these squigglies here. And this is where a lot of digestion and absorption of nutrients and water into your body occurs. After that, the small intestine leads into the large intestine, where feces is produced and the final absorption of water occurs. And then that makes it all the way to the rectum and then out the anus. That's the process of digestion. It's really, really wild that your mouth all the way to your anus is just a long 30-foot tube. So it's just a weird way to think about it. Now, you also do have your liver, your gallbladder, your pancreas, and your appendix, which we're not going to talk much about, but they play major roles. So, again, digestion. The purpose of it is to get nutrients into your body that your body cannot produce on its own. And that's where digestion comes in. So it really takes these big molecules, right? So it kind of looks like this. So imagine there's these big molecules here, and your body is only able to absorb things like this big. So it has to break chunks of these off. Break chunks of them off so then they can get them into your body through your bloodstream, and then your body can use those as building blocks, or almost think of them as Legos, right? So if you have Legos and you have a single Lego, you can't do much with a single Lego. But if you have a bunch of Legos, you can stack them together in different ways in order to make things that you need. So that's just how the digestive system breaks apart these macromolecules in order to make tiny molecules. All right? So macromolecules, or large molecules, become small molecules through the process of digestion. So an example of that is proteins are broken down into amino acids. Amino acids are like Legos, and we put them together in certain orders. Our body's able to do that. And we make our own proteins from that. Same thing with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are sugars, and these sugars are these huge chains of complicated molecules, and our body breaks those chains apart, reorganizes them in order to build literally ourselves and the things that allow us to function. All right? So the process begins at the mouth, where we chew food, which is a physical digestion, and our saliva begins to dissolve food, which is a chemical digestion. So both are occurring at the same time. Swallowing begins as a voluntary thing, like I was saying, and then we have these peristalses that are our muscles in our esophagus that push the food down through our esophagus into our stomach. So this video will break that down. So we start by, I'm going to turn off the volume. We start by literally biting the food, breaking it down, which increases the surface area. And then our tongue presses up against the roof of our mouth and kind of does this wave up. But interestingly, we have our trachea and our esophagus. If food goes down our trachea, then we'll get food in our lungs. So we have this flap here in our throat that covers up the trachea. Okay, so you can see that happening here. We have our glottis closes, and then the epiglottis covers it up. That's the flap right here. So that flap covers it up, so then the food slides down here and begins to enter our esophagus. These muscles tighten up and it allows the food to pass through. And then you can see the peristalses that squeeze this food down the esophagus. And like I said, we can be upside down and this will still work. Then we have a sphincter here. A sphincter is just a circular muscle that can open and close. And that allows the food to enter our stomach. A second wave of the peristalses then push the excess food down. You ever take a pill that feels like it gets stuck in your throat and you continue to swallow? It's your peristalses that are actually going to be pushing those through. All right, so yes, peristalses, they work like a wave to push down through your esophagus. And then it enters your stomach through that sphincter that stops the food. So like if you didn't have a sphincter there, you just have constantly be having like heartburn where food rushes up into your esophagus. But that sphincter stays tight unless you swallow food that allows food to go in through it. So your body, inside your stomach, you have hydrochloric acid, enzymes, and that's what we call bile. So if you ever vomit a lot in one day because you're sick and you end up throwing up like this nasty, like yellowy, green, like slime, that is your bile. You definitely want to brush your teeth after something like that because it will start to dissolve your teeth, which is pretty disgusting. So it takes about 4 hours for your food to be digested in your stomach, a little shorter sometimes depending on the food you ate. And again, sphincter here, sphincter here. So once you develop like a nice like soupy sludge of your food, and it's not like a solid piece anymore, your sphincter will open up and then it will enter your small intestine. So it goes mouth, esophagus, stomach, then to the small intestine where we continue to break down proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. And then in your small intestine, you have these things called villi. Villi are these little, like, I guess you could think of them as bumps. And they are there because they increase the surface area of our small intestine. So the surface area is increased, which just means there's more space for absorption to occur. Finally, the undigested food, which would be like your fibers and whatever just happened to not hit an enzyme that digests something, goes into your large intestine where a lot of water is absorbed. Bacteria is there to break down the final stages of your food, which is what makes your poop stink. It smells like bacteria. Most of your poop is bacteria, and they help to produce vitamin K and vitamin B. Vitamin K is pretty important. So that's the main idea behind the digestive system. Starts in the mouth. We physically and chemically break down the food. Saliva is chemical. Chewing is a physical breakdown. In your stomach, you may hear your stomach gurgle, right? That's your stomach actually moving around, pushing gases around. So it goes mouth, esophagus, stomach. Once that becomes a soup, it goes into your small intestine, that really like tubey craziness going on, where there are villi, which increase the surface area of your small intestine, causing more absorption of those micro molecules, right? Those small broken down molecules. And then once that's done, the rest of that stuff is going to go into your large intestine, where bacteria really starts to do some work on it. Well, bacteria has been working on it in your small intestine as well. But the bacteria is really going to be making the poop. And a lot of your poop actually is just the excess dead bacteria that was in your intestines and got pushed through. And you poop it out. All right? Cool.